right, and we are live. Kimmoy,
yay!
All right, so hey everybody, hola, hola, buenas noches a todos. This is Tasha of Tasha Teaches Spanish with surprisingly another episode of Hablamos Español, which simply means we speak Spanish. This talk series highlights African-American women or women of African descent who have learned and become fluent in the Spanish language. And tonight, esta noche, tenemos con nosotros Kimmoy Matthews. Kimmoy, hola, hola.
Hola a todos, hola, hola.
Thank you so much for your willingness to participate, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this interview because, guys, Kimmoy is the first person of Caribbean descent or Caribbean person, however I should word that, that I'm interviewing. So I'm learning with you all. If we're learning together, because of course I'm going to ask her the traditional questions I've asked everybody else, but I've got to ask some stuff about the Caribbean experience, because I know zip, nada, because I can't think of ever even meeting a Caribbean person in my life other than going on a cruise, in the place. But that's enough talking. Let's get to the interview, okay? And then at the end, I'm going to ask her some things pertinent to her experience. So I'm going to learn as much as you are tonight. So, Kimmoy, your introduction needs to be first in Español, and this is for you all, audience, to put your knowledge to the test. What do you think she's saying? Do you understand? What do you not understand? So whatever knowledge you have, whether it's a lot or a little, let's see, can you apply it to the situation? And at the end, she'll give her, her introduction again, and this time in English, so you can see if you were right. So here we go. I'll just ask you each question and we'll go from there. So, Kimmoy, ¿cómo te llamas?
Kimmoy Matthews. Me llamo Kimmoy Matthews.
Ok, ¿y qué son sus pasatiempos?
Mi favorito pasatiempo es bailar, como a todos.
Ok.
Sí, me encanta bailar y mirar la tele. La mayoría de tiempo estoy viendo YouTube o Netflix.
Sí. Ok, bailar. ¿Qué tipo de baile?
Salsa, bachata, muy sexy. Tango, sí.
Como todos esos tipos, ok. Muy bien.
Sí.
¿Y Kimmoy, de dónde eres?
Soy de una isla cerca de Puerto Rico, se llama St. Thomas, en el Caribe.
Ok, muy bien. Por favor, describe su familia. ¿Quién está en casa contigo o la familia en el Caribe? Más o menos una descripción general sobre su familia.
Ok, mi familia está a todo el mundo. Mi papá es en Estados Unidos, en Pennsylvania. Mi mamá se murió, pero ella de St. Kitts es otra isla en el Caribe también. La mayoría de mis familias son de St. Kitts, pero soy de St. Thomas. Mi abuela está en Maryland con mi tía. Mis primos están en St. Thomas también.
Entonces tú, perdón.
Ok, no te preocupes, vivo solo. Estoy en México ahora.
Ok, es otro nivel de interés. Ahora mi nivel de interés está más alto. Pero entonces tú eres una hija única, ¿no tienes hermanos?
Sí, tengo una hermana, ella es en St. Kitts, y un hermano, él en Michigan.
Ok. Muy bien, sí, entonces sí, ellos están en todos o todas partes.
Sí, claro.
Ok, ahora, tu trabajo o trabajos, ¿qué haces para ganar dinero?
Ok, bueno, escribo instrucciones de programas, ok. Soy una escritora y también empecé soy una dueña de una compañía limpieza.
Ok, 2 trabajos, muy bien, muy bien.
Sí.
¿Y qué quieres hacer en el futuro o qué quieres hacer en el futuro si sea diferente de lo que haces ahora? Si no sea, está bien.
Mi trabajo de mis sueños creo que es para presentar un show de televisión. Quiero hablar como ¿cómo se dice? A game show. show
sí,
de juegos. Sí.
Como The Price is Right. Or...
Sí.
Okay, qué bueno. Y la última pregunta, then we're going to English in a minute, viewers, so don't get disheartened if you don't know what we're saying. Tu canción favorita, canción latina favorita o cantante latino favorito?
No sé. No escucho música mucho, pero me gusta suavemente.
Bésame. De Elvis Crespo. Sí. Pero, ok, sí, no escuchas música mucho, pero bailas. Entonces, escuchas la música mientras estás bailando.
No escucho música latina la mayoría del tiempo. Mi artista favorita es Michelle Montano, artista del Caribe, de Trinidad. Me encanta Calypso, soca, como así. Sí.
Hay mucho que necesito aprender del mundo Caribe. Okay, so that's it, guys. Thank you. Gracias, Kimmoy. So we'll come back to those same questions in English at the end. So what did you understand that we were saying? What did you not understand? So stick around till the end to get answers to those questions or confirmation. So now let's dive in, like Trey Songz. So why did you decide to learn Spanish in the first place?
So growing up in the Virgin Islands, it's a very diverse culture in terms of there are a lot of people from different islands that live in the Virgin Islands. So I grew up around people from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. So I heard the language almost every day, and I thought it was a beautiful language, and I just thought it was cool to learn to speak another language. So that's why I started to learn. I studied it for 4 years in high school. And as soon as I graduated from college, I went straight to Spain for 3 months. So I just fell in love with the language and culture.
So here, well, I know you were still governed in the U.S. because it's the U.S. Virgin Islands. I get it. But I know, I don't know if y'all call this the mainland. I don't know what y'all call this chunk, but okay, the mainland, you know, they force well, every state's different. Let me just say Arkansas. Arkansas, they say you have to take at least 2 years. So most people do it their junior, senior year. How was it where you were in St. Thomas? Could you take it earlier? Could you take it in junior high? Could you take it in elementary? You know, how was it? How was the availability there?
I think it was an elective for your first 2 years, but I took it all 4. Yeah, I took it all 4. I can't remember if we were required or not. I think we were. So,
but you're saying it was like Spanish 4, like you went through 4 different levels.
Más o menos. You know, in high school, you really learn vocabulary. So yeah, you don't really learn how to talk Spanish. You learn how to read and write Spanish in high school. At least that was my experience.
No, that's
more so learning how to read and write. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to compare because a lot of times, well, some states, and it depends on the state, because I mean, even the city and the state, like some school districts here allow it a little sooner, but many just say, hey, take it at some point in high school, just do 2 years. But other states like Texas has some bilingual schools where they can start early. So I'm just trying to compare it to St. Thomas. Okay. Next up. So how did you already kind of hinted on this because you had little bits and pieces through socialization with others. You took some in high school and you took it in college as well, or no?
So yes, kind of, sorta. So when I graduated from high school, I went to Spain, and for that semester, I was at a university in Madrid and I was studying Spanish history. So I was studying, so to be honest, I don't even know if I understood 80% of what was said in class because the whole thing was in Spanish. So I was taking like an actual Spanish language class and then also like a language and history class of Spain. So, so that was my first college experience, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point in out of all the experiences with the language do you consider you learned it? Because the question is, how did you learn? But it sounds like there were multiple things that impacted your learning. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes. So I would say high school gave me the vocabulary. And for whatever reason, it stuck in my brain. But until I was able to get into Spain, that's when I learned how to actually speak and form sentences, and also improve my my hearing and comprehension skills, because nobody, I mean, this was a long time ago in 2000, nobody spoke English, and I was living with a family, abuela. She didn't speak any English at all. So being there for 3 months, I was 17. I had to kind of pick up how to communicate with other people. So I felt like there is kind of where I learned how to apply like the vocabulary to actually communicating.
And I understand. So pretty much it's like you got the sink or swim experience. And I get it. Yes. I get it. Because even though I got a degree in it, I studied it for 4 years in college.
Wow.
Had an internship, but it wasn't until I hit Spain that I really, well, not hit Spain, but returned. That's when I really felt comfortable and confident. Because even during the studies, I could write a paper in Spanish and all of that, but living in Spain is really what did it. I was there for 9 months in the south, in Murcia, a small town called Buyas. A small town called Buyas, where nobody spoke English. Maybe 5 people, but day to day, no. Okay, all right.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a blessing. It was a blessing. Okay. How do you keep the language fresh or sharp? And you say you live in Mexico, so I feel like that's part of the answer. But anyway, how do you keep the language skills fresh, or how do you sharpen your skills?
So several different ways. I speak to myself in Spanish every day. So basically the things I think about, I talk about with friends, or scrolling through social media, I try to think about it in Spanish or how to say it in Spanish. So that's one way. I watch YouTubers in Spanish. So I don't know anything about makeup, but for whatever reason, I love watching makeup videos on YouTube. So I watch those YouTubers in Spanish. They're speaking Spanish, and I'm able to pick up.
I should start doing that for cooking shows, because I love a good cooking recipe.
Yeah, I love cooking shows too. Me too.
And gardening. Yeah. So pretty much that tip is whatever your interest is on YouTube, just find the Spanish speakers that are doing it.
Exactly.
Mind blown. Instead of, and this is great because because you can always YouTube a Spanish lesson. What you're saying is YouTube the real life Spanish happening, not necessarily the instruction. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So I do that, and then I also have a workbook that I highly recommend it. But basically it has sentences in English, and then you're supposed to translate it in Spanish. So
what's the name of it?
I forgot.
Look, if you can just send me the name, and I can post it in the caption later.
Yes.
Because I'm even interested.
But it's like a series of books by a particular company. So I will definitely share with you guys.
Please do. Okay. Anything else you do? You say you talk to yourself, or whatever you're looking at, on some social media, you think about that in Spanish or a Spanish mindset. You YouTube your interests with and see it through Spanish speakers, and then their workbook. Anything else?
Yes, actually, I am part of WhatsApp groups. So I think I'm part of 2 or 3. They're all on mute because WhatsApp is just too much. But so I'm part of 3 Spanish, English WhatsApp groups, and we send voice notes to each other. So
Ooh.
yeah, that way I'm able to like practice and just share voice notes in Spanish. Like for instance, not too long ago, we had tongue twisters in Spanish. So somebody would post a tongue twister and we would all say it, send voice notes of us saying it. So that's really fun. So
I think I need to hop in that group now. I do agree on the muting because I was in a WhatsApp group. Because, I was reading something yesterday and it said WhatsApp is just really hot in Latin America. Like, that's just their thing.
It is.
I'm in one for work. Well, previous job I had dealing with Latinos. And I had to mute it because it's like, look, I don't want to talk all day. I'm at work. Aren't y'all at work? Aren't y'all
It's
working?
true. It's true though. It's true. It is hot throughout the Caribbean. I feel like the whole world, I feel like uses what? Oh, actually, another good tip where you would really learn the real deal is Tinder. So if you are single, right, even if you don't want to date, the conversations that you will have in Spanish on Tinder will elevate your Spanish to a whole other level. Okay?
No, Kimmoy. It sounds like it's gonna be about one topic, maybe two. I don't know about that now. And then you're gonna get somebody caught up in a little scandal. I don't know, Kimmoy.
I know. It's funny. You just gotta stay focused.
Woo,
but you learn a lot of the things that an everyday person talks about, right? Because not every day you're telling your friends, this is where I'm from, this is how many family members I have. You're talking about everyday topics, where to go to eat, what's happening in the news, like that kind of stuff you want to be able to have conversations about. Yeah.
I need to, that's helping me even think about what I'm teaching my clients. That's good. Yeah. All right. And then I'm sure you're in Mexico. So I'm sure that's helping right now. You don't it's all around you.
Yeah, I mean, we're in quarantine, so I feel like I don't really have much conversations because I'm quarantining myself. I don't know about the rest of the world, but most of the interactions I have is when I gotta go to the grocery store or something.
But before this, you had more interaction before quarantine because you've been there how long? You've been to Mexico how long? You've been to Mexico for how long?
Oh, since January 16th, so 6 months.
Oh, okay. So you got there and then like 2 months later, Corona. Well, it's already was existing in January, but I know people start really switching society up in March. So, okay.
Yeah. After Corona hit, I was like, okay, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay.
I understand. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What was the most difficult thing about the language when you first started learning? What was most difficult for you to grasp?
The most difficult when I started was keeping the past tense, because what I naturally do is so if I'm talking about something that happened back then in Spanish, I would start out saying, okay, this is what used to happen, this is what happened, and then all of a sudden I would be speaking back to the present tense. Like, it's just kind of like my safe zone because I know how to communicate in the present tense. So it was always hard for me to maintain the past tense. So, but
I got you on that. Okay. Was it ever hard for you, because you mentioned the past, was it ever hard for you then to differentiate between when to use imperfect and preterite? Was that an additional challenge?
No, I think that's kind of easy. At least for me, I think it's kind of clear because one is like a moment in time and then one is something that's like continuous in the past. Something you used to do for a long time. So yeah, I feel like this distinction is easy.
Is there anything that is still difficult for you with the language?
Yes, subjunctive. Speaking with subjunctive, I'm like, unless I say the word que, right? Quiere que or tiene que, then after that, like, okay, I remember to use the subjunctive, but in most cases, I don't.
No, I understand. I just started thinking about subjunctive like maybe last year. Because for me, this is what I tell my clients. I'm not saying it's right, but it's just my real experience. In Spanish, you can make it if you know the present tense. And if honestly, to me, you don't even have to know okay, this is how we got away with it in college. One of my teachers taught me, need to know present. You need to know the verb to go, and you put that verb in front of anything else, like voy a, I'm going to. Voy a
Right.
comer. I'm going to eat. Instead of worrying about how to make comer future tense, you just
Oh, okay.
make sure you know ear and slap that on the front. And then for past tense, I forget the category. Whichever one that you have to put haber, ha estado, ha ido, whatever that one is. And that's your past tense. And that's your past tense. I have eaten, So I never really tripped about like future. A lot of them I didn't worry about till recently. So I get it. You can get away with it. You can get away with it if you know a
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I get it. Okay, next up. How has learning Spanish benefited you personally, professionally, or in any other way?
Personally, I would say when I've tried, because I love traveling, so I've been to several different Spanish-speaking countries, so it definitely enhanced my experience. Being able to communicate with, the locals and be able to make friends and maintain conversations in their language. So I would say it helped me that way personally. Professionally, that's a good one. I would say the most interesting experience I've had related to work and Spanish is, so I used to work for Google, and last year.
Who?
Google, the Google.
Google, I heard Hugo. I'm sorry.
Oh, Google, search engine Google, yeah.
Yes,
so last year they had, was it last year? Yeah, last year they had a diversity scholarship where you could go to several different conferences that were happening around the US. So they had like a scholarship for Afrotech, for Prospanica, and some other like diverse related professional conferences. So I applied to the one for Prospanica, which is like a professional conference in Florida. It was in Florida last year. So I was able to win a scholarship because of that. So because I gave my responses and I, shared that I love the language and I'm a working professional. So yeah, I was able to kind of use that to get a free trip to Miami.
Yes, ma'am. That's a win.
Paid.
That's a win. It's always a win. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, next up. People, and I don't know your experience, but with me at least and others, people automatically assume a person makes a lot of money when they're bilingual. They tell me, oh, you're making that big money. And I don't know what big money is in their mind. Let's say big money is $100,000 a year, just in general. So have you found the assumption to be true that people assume you make a lot of money? And have you found it to be true that you make a lot of money by being bilingual? So what are your thoughts there?
Oh, wow. I didn't know there wasn't so people assume that if you're bilingual, you make a lot of money?
At least, let me say this. You are from a place where there's a lot of diversity right away, especially in Arkansas. There is not. You have people who are of African-American, who use that term, European-American or white, whatever you want to call that group. And then you have a nice Latino population, and that's it. So being bilingual here is a big deal because we're not, a lot of people aren't daily around others who speak another language. So maybe that's why that's a surprise to you, because bilingualism or multilingualism is common where you're from.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's common in St. Thomas. I would say most of the Spanish-speaking people know how to speak English. That's been my experience, not the other way around so much.
Well, let me clarify. Excuse me, Kimmoy. You mentioned you grew up around people from Puerto Rico or the Dominican,
right? Exactly.
And so you were at least around it was a common idea in your mind. Hey, there are other speakers of other languages somewhere.
Exactly.
In your club.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't know that was an assumption, but it's true in my experience. So I have made six figures, but it didn't have anything to do with being bilingual. So I don't know what the correlation is. Maybe, I don't know what the correlation is, but.
And I'll explain that as well, because here it's often Well, it's in several studies, and so people often quote the studies that say one who knows another language can earn between 5 to 20% more in their income. They hear that research, and so anybody who learns it is just automatically going to get that 5 to 20% increase, or even jobs. I had a job, and nobody's getting paid a lot of money anyway, but the incoming pay was maybe 12 an hour. I knew Spanish, I got 15 an hour. So jobs, really do different, make that distinction with their employees.
Okay, I could see that, because then you're able to communicate with a broader customer base or client base. So okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, but I this year is a little bit different because I've started a cleaning business, so I'm not working my main job that I typically do, but as a technical writer, I have made 6 figures. So last year I made 6 figures.
But it's not because you said you knew Spanish. It was just because it's the job you picked. It's the job you picked.
Right, exactly. Gotcha. So that's more of a skill set thing than bilingual thing.
Gotcha. All right. Next up, now this one may be different for you because you grew up around Latinos. But this question is, how do Latinos respond when you start speaking Spanish? So like when you first got to Mexico and you start speaking, are they surprised or receptive?
So for the most part, I always get, oh, you speak Spanish so well. Like that's what I've gotten for several years now. And I feel like I'm able to get away with a little bit more. Like you can't just, try to get over on me because I don't speak the language. So, yeah, so I have been able to bargain in certain situations, like in a taxi, for example, or even a situation here when we were in lockdown. I live in Playa del Carmen, so I'm literally close to the beach. So during lockdown, you couldn't walk near the beach. I didn't know. I was just taking a normal walk, and the police rolled up on me. And he's speaking in Spanish, so I'm responding to him in Spanish. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just taking a walk. So we can't take a walk. We're on lockdown. Do you want to get arrested? And I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm going to turn around, right? So, but that whole conversation happened in Spanish. Now, my other friend that lives here, she doesn't speak any Spanish, and her experience was horrible when she had an interaction with the police. So, I feel like those kind of situations, you could, get out of certain situations or gain more favor from the locals. I've had people welcome me, as if I'm a family member because I can communicate with them in their language. So it really does broaden your experience.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you. Let's see. So how do others, and like I said, I'm talking to somebody, you're already from a different culture, so it could be different, but how do other races or groups respond when they see you speaking Spanish? So somebody who's of African descent, somebody who's European American, do you get looks or different responses when they notice, hey, she speaks another language, it's not what I speak, it's not English?
Yeah, I think for the most part it's been positive. I haven't had any off the cuff experience. People are either like, they think it's cool or they're proud or, they kind of like, okay, since you know Spanish, let's, come over here and talk to this guy, something like that. But it's been positive. I haven't had any experiences yet.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Next, when we're almost done, then I can get set up questions I really want to ask, which is about Caribbean life. What do you recommend? And you already said this, in my opinion, but you may have something else. What do you recommend to those who want to learn the Spanish language? What resources or habits?
So yeah, essentially the way I've learned, I would say, is to listen and talk more than you read and write. I think a lot of us, when we start learning the language, we learn how to read the language and write the language. But I think if you focus on actually communicating, so
I like that. That's a good quote. Listen more than you talk. That's applicable in all aspects of life. I like that.
Yeah, listen and talk more than you read and write.
Oh, excuse me, I cut off here.
Yeah.
Listen and talk.
Because that's how we communicate today. I mean, most people are texting, but I feel like, you know, nowadays we're sending voice notes. So I would say when you go outside, you're talking to somebody using your words. So I would say, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I still make mistakes and I don't care. Like, I know whatever the point, I can make my point. You gonna understand what I'm trying to say at least. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And just talk. Like today, I went to look for, you know, like those big, those posted boards that you could stick on the wall. Because I want to like write, kind of like how you have some notes behind you. I want to write some things out so I can see them. So I went shopping for that. And I probably said in Spanish, I said, I am looking for a big piece of paper you can put on the wall. Like that is the basics of what I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say, you know, I'm looking for a sticky note that has, you know, glue on it, you know, just the basic of what I needed. So I'm able to communicate that. So yeah.
I like that. So, and that's great for people who, because I've had clients or just people I've talked to, and they get really mad when they can't think of the word. And I've said before, well, try to describe that word.
Right.
So give me a hint, go the long way around it. And ultimately, I'll, depending on what the context of the conversation is, I'm going to get it. So that's good. Right. That's really good, Kimmoy. So that piece of advice is great for people who get tripped up on vocab and not knowing all the vocab words.
Right, exactly. Because I couldn't remember, I think pegamentar is to stick. I couldn't remember what stick was. I was like, you put it on the wall, pon en la pared. She understood what I was talking about. So, yeah.
All right, good. Anything else you want to add?
So if you like watching TV or movies or anything, watch it in Spanish with Spanish subtitles. I know a lot of people say to watch it with English subtitles, but I would say watch it with both, listen in Spanish and read it in Spanish so you're able to connect how what they're saying sounds.
Let me ask you this, come up with that, because I started doing that whenever I started watching Spanish programming or programming in Spanish. Have you noticed though that the subtitles and the audio don't match sometimes?
Yeah,
it's like they'll hire somebody, one person for the subtitle, then hire somebody else for the audio.
It's true. So try to watch like so if it's like a Mexican movie, like on Netflix, you could change the different types of Spanish. So you could change it to Mexican or Spain, for example. Mm-hmm. I would say try to match both, but you watch the movie not to understand what is going on, because you could probably pick up what's going on just by watching, but you're doing it so that you could improve your listening skills. Because when they talk in movies, it sounds fast to us, especially when we're just learning. But if you see the word and you hear how they say it, then you kind of like, oh, that's what they're saying. And then you start noticing like how they put sentences together. So I feel like that's when I say listen and talk more. So listen that way, and then you have to repeat what you heard. So that's what I would say. So I would watch a YouTube video, for example, and she's, you know, speaking something in Spanish, and then I would repeat what she's saying.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and conclude with this portion. And I'm going to ask you those same introduction questions. So viewers,
okay.
If you were with us in the beginning, if you were with us in the beginning and you heard Kimmoy's Spanish introduction, now is the time for you to see if you were right. And then we'll get into some questions about Kimmoy being a person of Caribbean descent or being a Caribbean person. All right, so your name, Kimmoy?
My name is Kimmoy Matthews.
All right, and a few of your pastimes.
I love dancing and I love watching YouTube and Netflix. No shame in my game.
And where are you from?
I am from a small island close to Puerto Rico called St. Thomas.
Mm-hmm. And describe your family, a bit about, this is how I said it in English, whether somebody's in your house or your family back in the Caribbean. Tell us about your family.
Yes. So my dad is in Pennsylvania. So I was saying that my family is like all over the place. So my dad is in Pennsylvania. My mom, she passed away, but she was back in St. Thomas. My grandmother, she lived in St. Thomas, but she recently moved to Maryland. So she's living with my aunt in Maryland. And my cousins, another aunt is in St. Thomas. And what else did I say? I think that's all. Oh, and then I have a brother that's in Michigan and a sister that's in St. Kitts. And I think I said that majority of my family is from St. Kitts, even though I'm from St. Thomas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Yeah.
Your job or jobs?
So I am a technical writer. So I write instructions for software programs. And I also started a cleaning company.
Cool. And what you want to be in the future if it's different from what you're doing now?
I want to be a TV host, a game show host.
I love that idea. I really do. And then your favorite Latino song or singer?
Yeah, so I don't really listen to a lot of Latino music. So the only song that will always get me dancing is that Suavemente song. That song, I love it, but I don't really listen to a lot of music throughout my day. When I do, I listen to Calypso and Soca. My favorite artist is Michelle Montano, and he's from Trinidad.
Oh, thank you for specifying it's a he, because I really thought it was a lady.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. That concludes that portion. So now let me ask just a few questions because my son obviously is kind of cutting up. So I don't want to hold this too much longer, but I'm loving it. I could talk for 30 more minutes. So guys, you all weren't here, or you didn't see us when we first started talking before the official interview, and I was asking some questions about Kimmoy's experience, just the culture, and I was just sounding really slow, guys, because honestly, I really hadn't heard of St. Thomas. I didn't know where it was before interviewing her. I had to Google it. She named some other places I've never heard of in my life. I got one of the territories that the U.S. governs wrong. Like, I sounded real slow. So the question I'm about to ask now, I'm going to learn just as much as you are. So you're from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, one question I did ask you is, isn't there another set of islands, Virgin Islands?
Yes. So you have the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, and recently Water Island. Then there's also the British Virgin Islands, Tortola, Virgin Gorda, and like some other little tiny islands as well. So yeah, so it's two separate entities.
Another question I asked you was, okay, so you mentioned the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands. Where are the West Indies? I've heard of that. But
so yeah, the West Indies is basically a group of islands in the Caribbean Sea. So as far north as, let's say, Puerto Rico, and then the whole chain of islands that go down the Caribbean Sea to close to South America, it would be considered the West Indies. So a lot of Caribbean people would say that they're West Indian.
How are you all, your country, St. Thomas and all the others, doing with global warming and its impacts on shorelines and water levels, and how are these areas doing with that?
I'm not too sure. We have hurricanes, so that's one of the biggest issues I would say with, that could be due to global warming, because the hurricanes have gotten worse and worse and worse as the years progress. So I would say that is probably the biggest impact. It's still, when it comes to water, a lot of people back home use cisterns, so they have how to describe a cistern? A cistern is kind of like a huge well. So when it rains, you can use that to supply water. But I'm not sure how they deal with, any shortages, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, no, I don't want you to get it twisted. It's not like we're, dirt poor or anything like that.
No,
it's beautiful
I wasn't
there.
taking it that way. No, I wasn't taking it that way.
Yeah.
But as you were talking, because you mentioned how they prepare or deal with the hurricanes in terms of the cistern, which I didn't know what a cistern was. Now I'm gonna have to Google that. I'm learning so much. But as you were talking, I thought about how in New Orleans they have a lot of houses on blocks or stilts. Is that common where you're from? So that the house doesn't get blown away?
So typically homes will be built up higher, yes. And also I'll give you this tidbit. A lot of locals do not own homes on the water, even though that's like the prime real estate and people from the States love to buy homes on the water.
But the locals know better.
The locals know better. All that salt eroding, furniture and stuff in your home. And then when a hurricane comes, you don't want to be on the water. So a lot of the homes are built a little bit more sturdier, but to be honest, just like when Hurricane Irma and who was the other one? When Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands had 2 hurricanes back to back, those homes were not a match for those hurricanes. So that's what I would say has been the biggest impact, is that those hurricanes have gotten worse. I've been through 2 growing up, and what happened recently, Jesus, that's
Okay. And so people, and I guess that's why I was asking about the impact of the environment. So nobody's thinking about, well, a lot of your family sound like they move. Do people commonly move for that reason? They said, this is too much, it's getting worse, we got to move on the mainland or somewhere else.
I don't know if that's, oddly enough, I don't know if that's the main reason people move. People typically move for opportunity. So it's kind of expensive for a local to live back home, to be honest. When you have a country that is built on tourism, that's typically what happens. You get a lot of tourists in, and people with money come in and buy land and properties. So it raises the local living up, local cost of living. So a lot of people leave because of opportunity. I wouldn't say because of hurricane, because most people know how to navigate, even though, like I said, these last 2 hurricanes did some major damage. But yeah, those are the main reasons why people move.
How large, I don't want to talk about all the islands, let's just talk about St. Thomas. What we thinking of 500,000 people approximately? What's the number of people
The
there?
population?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I want to say it's a couple 100,000.
A couple 100,000. Okay.
I think so.
And I'm sorry, I wouldn't expect, and I'm sorry if it's rude, because if you ask me the population of Arkansas, I don't have a good answer either. I guess I just, since these are, I think these are small islands, right?
Yes, they're literally like a dot on the map.
And so I guess my point is, excuse me for sounding like I expected a specific figure, but just would you consider it a lot of people there, or when you go around, it's like this really sparse, or are there areas where it's like, oh, this is a densely populated area, and then some aren't, or is it pretty spacious in general?
Yeah, you have space. Yeah, you definitely have space. St. Thomas is the most popular one, even though it's not the biggest. So St. Croix is the biggest one. It's more flat, but the population is more dense in St. Thomas. St. Thomas is tiny and very, very hilly, but it's not not anything compared to the state. Well, I guess it depends on which state you're in, because I lived in DC for a long time, so since 2005 to until last year. So yeah, it's not, you're not going to be bumping into people like in New York, for example. You have space.
Okay. All right. I think that's really why I was trying to go with the question. So excuse me again for making it seem like I need a figure, no. All right. Yeah. I could just go on and on. Okay. You mentioned that you don't listen to a lot of Latino music. And you already talked about the language there. It's English because it's a U.S. Territory. But
Yes.
what is, I guess, like the culture? Like, what's the common music type there? Is it the two you mentioned, which I can't pronounce?
Yeah, calypso and soca. So yeah, that is the local music. I would say it's very, well, before coronavirus, you know, very sociable people. Like it's very common to be by someone's house or be outside hanging out together, you know, rum drinking, you know, playing dominoes, that kind of stuff. So it's beautiful. And even if I wasn't from St. Thomas, I would say the place is just paradise. We have the best beaches. I think so. And I've been to several beaches around the world. I'm here in Playa del Carmen. St. Thomas beaches have notch. Okay. I'm talking crystal clear water. You can see your feet when you go in. The sand is soft. Can't be beat. Can't be beat.
Excuse me, back to the music.
Lots and lots of flavor.
Okay,
lots of flavor in your food. What else?
Hold on. Stop. I don't want to forget my question. Back to the music. What does that sound like? Calypso, in other words, is that like reggae? Like, can you give me something to connect it with? Like, is it similar to reggae? No.
Yeah, it's similar to reggae. Yeah, but it's a little bit more fast paced. So it's kind of like almost like reggaeton. I would say reggaeton. Kind of like that's the most closest to calypso and soca. Yeah.
Okay, now back to the food. When I think of the Caribbean, especially the Latino countries, I think plantains and things like that. So describe typical dishes.
Yes. Every single thing has flavors. So whether you have curry chicken or stewed chicken or oxtails or fried fish, it's seasonings galore. Everything has flavor. Even your vegetables have seasonings. Your rice has seasonings. Plantain is sweet. Like everything has flavor. So lots and lots of flavor. We also have one of my favorite dishes is saltfish and dumplings. Jamaica has a similar dish called ackee and saltfish. So saltfish is basically codfish, and it's prepared with like onions and green peppers and a little bit of tomato sauce and just lots and lots of flavor seasoning. So it's so good.
Okay. And give me one more thing, and then this is probably my last question because I could just go on and on. I guess I just need to go and learn for myself whenever we can travel again. What is do you all have a specific drink? I know like some of the little Caribbean places have ginger beer, like that's hot around there, something like that. So is there a drink that's common from your culture?
Yeah, so we have ginger beer as well, so that's very common. Sorrel is very common, so that's made out of dried hibiscus.
Oh, it's tasty. It's got to be good because I like hibiscus tea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's even better, girl. It's better. And there's a lot of rum, of course, because that's what we do. So we have our own rum, cruising rum, and that's made in St. Croix. Lots of different flavors, banana, coconut, the whole nine. And one of our popular alcoholic mixed drinks is called the Bushwhacker and the Painkiller. So those two you gotta try.
I'm scared.
No, they're so good. It's so good. It tastes good. I promise. It tastes really good. So
this is the last
rum
question.
Punch. You know, any party you go to, there's rum punch. So yeah, lots of rum.
This is the last question. And I guess I'm gonna have to explain why I'm asking it. When I didn't realize in Spanish speaking countries there are all shades of people. My first time abroad, I went to Costa Rica with my college at the time, and I went and there were people who were my time. I expected everybody to be brown, just like a regular. I don't know if it's chestnut brown, but brown is lighter than my brown. And I went, and there were people who were darker than me, and there were people that looked just like the European Americans here. And my mind was blown. I'm like, everybody's speaking Spanish, you know. So that was my introduction into the fact that Spanish speakers are everywhere and have all kind of histories. So in St. Thomas, so the U.S. Virgin Islands, you did mention going to school with Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, but people who I guess are from your area, are they mostly melanated, or is it that same level of diversity in appearance?
People, you mean the Spanish speaking people or people from St. Thomas?
The folks from where you're from. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
St.
people
Thomas,
from St. Thomas,
Croix.
we melanated all spectrums. So yeah, full of melanin. Yeah, and you have, like I said, people from so many different islands back home. So it's just a melting pot is what we call it, because there's so many people from different islands. So
but there are there, I guess, what's the number of people who are of European descent? A lot of those, or not really?
Not really. Yeah. Wow. So if you're a European descent, you are the minority back home.
Wow. My mind is blown again. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I could just talk to you all day, and maybe I will, but not in this interview. God, thank you, viewers, for watching. I hope you all have learned as much as I have, or if not more. And Kimmoy, I thank you again for taking out your time, giving me your time, giving us your time, and giving us your life experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. This was really fun. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Anytime.
All right. Have a good night, everybody out there. Have a good night, Kimmoy.
Good night.
Oh, time out. And do you want to shout out your blog? There's a blog series, Keeping Up with Kimmoy. Did you want to mention that, or?
Yes. So a lot of people want to know how you can travel and still make money. So technical writing or writing instructions for other companies is a really good way if you love to do that kind of stuff. So I talk about technical writing or similar jobs that you can do on my blog at keepingupwithkimmoy.com. So that's where you can find all the information. And
it's a Facebook page as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Keeping Up with Kimmoy. Mm-hmm.
So I hope you're still watching. I hope you didn't leave when we said we were going to say goodbye, because now we are. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night.